all the work that we put into like thinking about sliding doors moments can really stop us from making a decision, and making a decision is important sometimes.
You go to school to learn how to learn.
And it was all useful in some way or another, even if I wasn't going to pursue a career in it.
I think it's good to find instructors who value what you bring to the table.
But it's also important to know that, like, diversion from the shot that you're lining up is okay.
I'm not everybody else. And eventually you have to understand that you're not competing against the social order. And if you do, you're always going to feel disappointed in yourself. You have to find ways to understand who you are.
Because if you just do the 25-cent microwave ramen, you'll be like, that's a big bowl of salt. But you put an egg in there, and the world's your oyster. This is the advice for college students.
They really
need.
Here at Study Hall, we spend a lot of time thinking, talking, and asking questions about college. We do that because we want to help make college a little easier to navigate. We want to help you figure out things like how to apply for college, what to do while you're there, how to pay for it all, and what college is really for anyway. After all that thinking, talking, and questioning, a few things have come up over and over again. Okay, the importance of putting an egg in your ramen only came up once, but it's good advice, and so is all the other wisdom we've collected here for you. Hi, I'm Erica Brzozowski, and here's some of Study Hall's best advice about college. First things first, let go of what you think college should look like. Lots of people have a particular vision of college. It's away from home, it takes 4 years, and it involves things like dorms and frat parties and football games. Basically, it looks like the movies. Or maybe you have a vision of who you're going to be and what you're going to do in college.
When I signed my offer letter to go to the University of Iowa to play volleyball for a scholarship, I was convinced I was going to be bio-pre-med and be a doctor someday. And Iowa had a really good medical program too. So I thought I had set up the final shot on what I was going to do at 17 years old, which is hilarious.
Those visions don't always quite pan out, and it usually looks nothing like the movies. Grace Helbig School didn't even have a football team. Chris Birch found out that moving away from home would be way too expensive. And, by the way, Abria Iyengar got injured and transferred to a different school, and a different sport, and a different major. Disappointments and changes to the plan can be really tough to manage. Johnny Manganiello was devastated when he didn't get into his dream school for acting. Clint Smith had a bit of an existential crisis when he realized he would mostly be on the bench instead of on the soccer field. And John Green felt like a failure when he took a semester off and he didn't get to graduate with his peers. But it's okay if college doesn't look or feel the way you expected. There are lots of good ways to do college, and the disappointments can give you the opportunity to do some soul searching, discover other parts of yourself, and find the path that works for you.
I remember thinking everybody who said it's going to be fine, it's going to work out, they were right. You just go where you go.
One of the reasons college doesn't look like the movies is because the movies don't really talk about how expensive college is. But it's okay to follow the money. Literally.
I remember sitting down and talking with my parents and trying to figure out how would we afford this, because out-of-state tuition was really high. I didn't get a lot of financial support there. And at one point, we had created this plan where I was living in a trailer, renting out half of it, becoming a resident as quickly as possible to pay in-state tuition, and working a part-time job to attend the school that I really wanted to go to. And I remember stepping back and being like, is this really what I want my experience to be like?
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided it felt a little bit like giving up a dream of leaving the state, but I was so much better supported staying in state and using the financial aid that I was given.
Yeah.
It opened up so much bandwidth and time for me that I got to continue to explore a bunch of different avenues.
I faced a similar decision, but I handled it a little differently. I chose to attend a wildly expensive out-of-state public school, so I worked at the local mall to cover my expenses. Then, after my first year, I took a gap year and kept working so I could establish residency and get in-state tuition for the rest of my time in college. I still managed to graduate on the same timeline, but balancing school and work isn't easy. I remember one semester, most days I went to class from 8 to 9 a.m., walked 30 minutes back to my apartment, drove to work, worked 10 to 2, drove home, walked back to school, and was in class from 3 to 5 p.m. Everyone is going to handle their finances differently, and every school is going to have different kinds of scholarships and financial aid available for different kinds of circumstances. So fill out the FAFSA, research scholarships, and find out which schools will offer you the best financial assistance. And it may surprise you. Sometimes the schools with the highest sticker price also offer some of the best aid. Or maybe it's more affordable to do college the way Shane Top did. Start with community college, pace yourself, and just take 1 or 2 classes each semester for as long as it takes, which in Shane's case was 10 years. Sit down and really work out what things will cost, how you're going to swing it, and what choices you can make to ease those financial burdens for yourself. In the spirit of making things easier on yourself, remember that you're a human with some basic human needs, so drink water, eat vegetables so you don't get scurvy, and put an egg in your ramen so you're not just eating salt. Call your parents. Go outside. Make sure you're actually sleeping sometimes. Eat before you go out drinking. Know your limits and learn when to say no. You don't have to join every club, go to every party, or take the max number of credits every semester. Make sure to leave some room for rest and fun. If you're sick, don't go to class, but do go to a doctor and go to the dentist. If you're feeling anxious or depressed or stressed out or burned out, tell someone. Use your school's free counseling center. In other words, take care of yourself in college and ask for help when you need it.
The thing that made the fear go away was getting help, not, white knuckling through it.
Some people said their biggest success in college was finding the right people.
The most significant thing I did is surround myself with people who understood who I was and what I was, the person I was. That's probably my biggest takeaway from my time in school, is am I in the right room?
The beginning of college especially can be really challenging. Lots of us felt lonely and anxious and overwhelmed during freshman year. I felt really homesick at first. Grace thought she was in the wrong place entirely and wanted to transfer to a different school. First of all, it's totally normal to feel that way. And if you need to, you can always make a change. You can switch your major or your school or your roommate. But maybe you just need some time to settle in and find your spaces and your people, which isn't necessarily easy. But there are a bunch of other people out there looking for friends too. They might be your roommates, dorm mates, teammates, classmates. And finding them might mean trying some new things, like joining a sketch comedy team or starting a poetry club. Or it might mean changing your perspective. One of our script editors was in a small, cliquey program, and she spent a lot of energy trying to impress her classmates before realizing she just wanted to hang out with people she actually liked hanging out with. And those people are still her best friends, years after graduation. Along with your peers, get to know your professors. Almost everyone we talk to can point to a teacher who was particularly influential in their life. Brennan Lee Mulligan's was a philosophy professor. Johnny's was a clown professor. Clint's was the teacher who loved his poem in 3rd grade, and the college professor who told him he had things to say.
But then I had this great teacher, and he said, listen, the reason you didn't get into that class is because your story isn't very good. But he was like, you tell stories during the smoke breaks that are so good and so funny and really moving. And if you could find a way to just write the way that you tell stories, you'd be a good writer.
Teachers and professors can help us figure out who we are and what we're good at, and they're one of your best resources in college. Trust me, I'm one of them. Most of the time, we're totally willing to help you, and we know a lot about the subject area. So seek out our expertise. Speak up in class. Ask questions. Go to office hours. Not only can this help you academically, it will help make sure we know who you are. So if you need to come to us later to ask for a recommendation, we'll actually have something to say. But your professors are far from the only resource available to you in college.
In high school, the only resources that I had were, I could go to the internet, I can kind of text my friends to see if they have any insights. But I think college was interesting in that you have office hours, you have tutoring centers, you have the people on your dorm floor. It's like, yes, the stuff is harder, but you're also just given the opportunity to figure it out in one of many different ways.
And it's not just resources for academics. While you're in college, you've got clubs and organizations you can join. You've got easy access to art supplies, film equipment, labs, and studios. You can use your college's health services, mental health services, IT services, and career services. And you can get student discounts on everything from concert tickets to gym memberships to public transportation.
When you get out of school, stuff's not free. So like take advantage of as many free things as you can in that container.
Almost everyone at Study Hall will tell you it's more important to focus on your learning than your grades. Sure, keeping an eye on your GPA is probably a good idea, especially if you've got financial aid relying on it. But if your only goal is to ace every assignment, impress your professors, and outsmart your classmates, you might be doing it wrong.
And if I were to go back to 17-year-old Brennan, as he was like, I'm going to get this professor to like me.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a really good 10-minute student film. I'm going to do this great script about this thing, right? I would have gone back and said, hey, your adult life has already started. What this institution is presenting you with is opportunities for real skill building.
In other words, college is about learning. But academic content is just one type of learning, and your transcript is just one way to show that learning is happening. Along with academics, college gives you opportunities to learn all kinds of skills and strategies. And it's a place where you can learn to ask questions, be curious, and discover what else you're interested in, who else you can be, and what else you can do.
But the more that I kind of let go of that and recognize, like, I'm doing this by my own choice. Nobody's forcing me to be here. And I'm doing it because I want to learn these things. So who cares if I fail the test or not? I want to know more. I want to grow from this.
Life isn't a straight line, so you don't have to have a 5-year plan. You don't have to follow the plan you made, and you can allow yourself to be surprised by the path you follow. Most of us aren't doing exactly what we thought we'd do when we first picked our college major. Emily Zarka thought she was going to be a journalist, not a monster expert. Johnny Manganiello definitely didn't think he'd be making cakes. And the things that stick with us after college can be surprising. John Green took a college class called AIDS, Ebola, and Emergent Viruses just to graduate, and years later it turned into a book about tuberculosis. And it's what he remembers as the most valuable class he took in college. Meanwhile, a lot of the technical details and facts Chris Birch memorized in college are now obsolete. And for some of us, the jobs we're doing now didn't even exist when we were in college. Like, say, making money by posting things on the internet. Pivoting doesn't mean any of it was a mistake or a waste. The stuff you study in college doesn't have to be useful. And at the same time, it can all become useful in one way or another. Ultimately, everyone's path is unique, and there's only so much advice we can really give. So we'll leave you with this.
When you're in college, you're in charge now. Like you are making the choices. You are now an adult.
Yeah.
And like you get to decide what you get from this experience.
For more college advice, check out our College Journeys playlist to hear what writers, creators, Olympians, and astronauts wish they'd known in college. And if you want to learn how to earn college credit with Study Hall, head to gostudyhall.com or click the link in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.